take a break. I know life is hard, but I'm really worried about you. You should take some time off. Maybe do what makes you happy. Maybe do what you actually love. You've been spending so much time just working constantly. That's not good for you. Just do something that will make you actually happy.
Would you believe me if I told you that the entire short film that you just watched was created in just 30 minutes? If not, then I'm going to show you exactly how I achieved this. So, welcome back to my channel, and today we're deep diving into Higgsfield AI's new Cinema Studio 2.5. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description. So, the idea behind this short sequence actually comes from a feeling that I've had for a very long time. Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved traveling, being outdoors and exploring. And when I got into college, I just couldn't imagine myself living a typical 9-to-5 life, just being stuck in an office. So I took that emotion and brought it to Higgsfield Cinema Studio 2.5, and honestly, this is where all the magic happened. So let's take my short film as an example. Before creating my initial shots, I wanted to set the foundation first, and by that I mean the main character and the location. To do that, I started by creating an element. Now this is something that I'm really excited about, because elements are basically like predefined subjects, locations, or even props that you can reuse across your shots. So instead of creating a random character, I wanted to give this a very personal feeling. So that's exactly what I did. I made myself the subject. I uploaded a few of my own photos from different angles, gave it a name, me, and added a simple description about the personality, key features, and the overall vibe I wanted in my subject. Once I had the subject, I moved on to the location. The idea was to show myself working late at night in an office, feeling tired, demotivated, and stuck. So I went into the location section, increased the number of variations, and described the scene as an old corporate office. Quiet and slightly depressing. And after generating, I got 4 options, and from those I picked the one that matched the mood I had in my mind and saved it as the location. Now I wanted to create my first initial frame, so I went into the image section. I described the frame that I wanted, and to reference my subject and location, I simply used the @ symbol and selected them, and then I hit generate. And this was the shot that I got, which surprisingly was almost exactly what I had in my mind. So I took that frame into the video section and used it as my starting frame, described the motion as subtle, tired body language, and then generated the clip. And here you can also choose the kind of motion that you want in your clip, such as static or a handheld shot, or even zoom in and out, along with choosing different type of speed ramping. I personally left it on auto and chose my shot as static for the majority of the clips, and just like that, my first shot was ready. For the next shot, I wanted to show a more emotional moment, so I created another frame where the subject is sitting at his desk checking his phone as a message comes in from someone close. I generated a few options, picked the best one, and moved it to the video section, described the action, and generated the clip. And now this is where the story starts to shift. I wanted to move away from the feeling of being stuck to the beginning of something different. So for the third shot, I changed the entire environment. Instead of the office, I created a new location, an old garage late at night with dim lighting and quiet atmosphere. It should feel like very isolated. And inside the garage, the subject is standing there looking at something important. This is where I introduced a key prop, an old red Mustang covered with a cloth. So again, I went into the image section, described the frame with the subject, the garage, and the covered car, and generated multiple options and picked the one with the best mood. And then I moved into the video section. I used it as a starting frame and described a slow, subtle movement just to build anticipation, and generated it, and this became my next shot. Up until this point, the story was about feeling stuck, but here, I wanted to visually show a shift, not through one big action, but through a series of small, deliberate decisions. So instead of rushing it, I broke the entire movement into multiple shots, each one representing a step forward. First, I went to the image section, created a frame where the subject is slowly lifting the cloth of the car. In the prompt, I was very specific about the lighting and the mood. I described it as a dimly lit garage with soft, directional light, barely illuminating the scene. And as the cloth is being lifted, the red Mustang is gradually revealed from the shadows. I also referenced my subject using add so the consistency stays intact. And after generating a few variations, I carefully picked the one where the lighting felt the most natural and cinematic, where the car wasn't fully visible yet, but just enough to create curiosity. And then I moved on to the video section, used that frame as my starting frame, described the motion very subtly, slow hand movements, cloth sliding off gently with no sudden actions, and I hit generate, and this is what I got. Now for the next shot, I wanted to show some kind of hesitation. So again, in the image section, I created a frame where the subject is slightly opening the car door but not stepping in. Yet this time, my prompt was focused on emotion and body language. I described the subject as pausing and standing still with a sense of, you can say, uncertainty, like he's thinking about something before making a final decision. Once I got a frame that captured the feeling that I wanted, I took it to the video section, used it as a starting frame and described minimal motion, just door opening slightly, followed by a brief pause. I generated it and this became my next shot. After that, I wanted to ground the scene with a small realistic detail. So I created a close-up frame with the subject is adjusting the side rear view mirror. In the prompt, I focused on realism with subtle hand movements, reflections in the mirror, and maintaining that same low-light garage atmosphere. Again, the same workflow. Generate in the image section, pick the best frame, move to the video, use it as a starting frame, and describe a very controlled and natural motion. For some people, these small actions might seem minor, but they add a layer of authenticity and realism that makes the whole sequence feel real and human-like. And then comes a turning point. I created a frame where the subject is inside the car, inserting the keys into the ignition. Here, the prompt was very important because I specifically described the contrast between darkness and light. The garage is almost completely dark, and the moment the subject turns the car keys, the dashboard lights and the headlights come alive, lighting up the entire scene. After generating the frame, I moved it to the video section, used it as a starting frame, and described the full action. For example, hands inserting the key, turning it, lights flickering on, and the engine starting. And when I hit generate, instantly the entire mood shifted. Right after that, I wanted to build momentum, so I created another frame where the car is ready to move, and in the video section, I described the subject putting the car in first gear, followed by a slight movement of the arm and gear stick and the engine revving. This is where the energy finally kicks in. The hesitation is gone and the decision has been made. And finally, this was my last shot. And before creating the shot itself, I first needed to establish what's outside the garage. So I went back into the location section again, and this time I described the environment just outside the garage. I wanted a long, straight road at night, something that visually leads somewhere. In the prompt, I mentioned a quiet suburban street filled with small houses, dim street lights casting small pools of light, and the most important, a distant city skyline visible far ahead. After generating a few options, I selected the location that had a strong sense of depth and emotions, where the road is straight and naturally guides your eye towards the city skyline. I saved that as a new location and then used it while creating the final shot. So now, because this was going to be the final shot, I knew that it had to feel bigger than everything before it. So in the image section, I described a top-down, drone-like style frame of the car slowly pulling out of the garage and entering the same road. I referenced both my subject and the newly created location using the @ symbol so everything stays consistent. Again, I focused heavily on the composition, the car centered on the road, leading lines pulling your attention forward, and the city faintly visible in the distance. After generating a few options, I chose the one with the strongest composition, the road leading the eyes directly towards the city. Now, then I moved to the video section, used that exact frame as the starting frame, and this time I described a more cinematic camera movement. The car drives forward, steady and confident, while the camera slowly rises upwards, revealing more of the environment and finally the city in the distance. That upward motion was not random. It symbolizes moving forward, leaving the old life behind and heading towards something bigger. And I hit generate, and this was the final shot that I got. Now, when I combine all the videos along the audio that was generated inside Cinema Studio 2.5, this is the final result. I want all of you guys to watch it one more time with me.
You should take a break. I know life is hard, but I'm really worried about you. You should take some time off. Maybe do what makes you happy. Maybe do what you actually love. You've been spending so much time just working constantly. That's not good for you. Just do something that will make you actually happy.
30 minutes is exactly what it took for me to create this entire cinematic sequence. With no crew, no expensive gear, just me with an idea and Higgsfield's new Cinema Studio 2.5. And if you enjoyed this video or found this helpful, hit subscribe. I've seen over 90% of you are not subscribed to this channel, so if you found any of my videos helpful, make sure to subscribe. It really helps me, and I'll see you in my next one.